Oh, guys, we're just about to start a new edition of Halftime Chat, and I've got myself Mookie, who is a producer, songwriter, and it's going to be good talking to him about.
Right. Let me see what we got here. There we go.
Yeah, there we are. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, brother? All right.
I'm doing good.
Good to see you. What
Yes,
time we got over there?
it is at 1:30 in the afternoon.
Nice, nice, nice,
Yes, yes.
nice.
So, are you based on the East Coast? So,
Yeah, I'm down. I'm on the East Coast, but down south. So
okay, where's that?
yeah, I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay, okay. That's yeah. I've
Yeah,
never been,
yeah,
but okay, I've never been out there. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. Well, it's actually good to be able to speak to you. I mean, so you're known by Mookie.
yeah.
Uh,
Everyone calls me.
you don't know by Mookie. Okay, Mookie. Well, want to welcome you to Halftime Chat.
Awesome.
We've it. I mean, there's the mixture of what the show is about. It's really it takes us back down memory lane from some of the 90s. We get to hear some background stories around some of the people that we admired, but also just the what influenced you and how your journey got you into industry as well. Um, we have an
Cool.
international audience, and so people from all over the place tune in. So it's always good to start off with where you were sort of born and raised.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually born in Canada. In
Okay.
Montreal, Canada. Yeah, my both of my parents were musicians. My dad had a recording contract at the time, and it was based in Canada.
Okay.
So he went up there to record, and I was born. And after he's done recording, he came back to the States. So, you know, I'm a American dude, but I got dual citizenship. It's pretty
Oh,
cool.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It comes with the birth, so it's pretty awesome. But
Yeah, but you didn't. Yeah, Montreal. I think is that the French side of Canada?
it is. I don't speak any French.
Okay.
Both of my parents, they spoke fluent French. They didn't pass it down to me, so
Okay. Okay.
yeah, I'm stuck there.
So you say your parents are,
Yeah,
are both your parents musicians? Or was it your dad?
yeah, yeah. My dad, he passed away a year ago, and
Oh, that's so yeah.
but it's totally cool. And he was a well-known jazz musician. He
Wow.
recorded and performed with everyone from Ray Charles to Paul
Wow.
McCartney, and yeah, yeah, legendary. And my mom was she's still alive. She's a classical cellist,
Wow.
and she studied with some of the greats from Isaac Stern. One of her good friends, dear friends, is Zach Perlman. If anyone on that side of the fence, is a very famous violinist. And so they passed it down to me and my whole crew of brothers. So we've
Wow.
always played music right from the jump. So yeah,
So
pretty
we've
cool.
got a we've got a very interesting dynamic. You've got your dad with jazz
Yeah,
and your mom with classical. There
yeah,
seems to be
yeah,
two types of complex type of music, but they just seem to be at odds.
yeah.
How did that sort of filter down to you
It's
guys?
um, it's interesting because yeah, they're both brands of music are complex, but we were we were brought into things very little. He started us out singing. So we would be on stage doing at the time, I think the first song I sung was Ben by Michael Jackson.
Wow.
And so we were doing all the pop music of the time when we were little, but that the type of strict training, we'll put it like that, like military training, I call it, was ingrained in us. Like uh, I'm a drummer, and so you know whenever the kids was outside playing and doing football and sports, we was inside practicing.
Wow.
So the discipline that comes with both jazz and classical filtered down the most, I'll say. um, and what's weird, I don't read music. All of my everybody else in my family reads music, but I just picked up drums pretty naturally. So my dad would say, all right, let's go play, and pretty much he'd tell me what to play, I play it, and I had it. So I'm
So
kind of
those,
mad about that. I want to read.
yeah, but I do wonder then. So I mean,
Yeah.
with both parents, what instrument did your dad? What was his instrument choice? Was it
He was
trum
particularly trumpet
trumpet?
and
Okay.
all the brass. He could play every brass, but he played everything. He played drums, guitar, bass, you name it, and taught all of me and my brothers to play. My brothers would play sax and uh, horns and all that. So, and I just ended up on the drums, and I taught myself how to play a little guitar, bass, keys, enough for recording purposes. So, but it was a fun childhood.
Yeah, but what was it?
It
I
was
mean, growing
definitely
up in
something.
that environment, though,
Hmm. Hmm.
with parents in that, what was the expectations for you?
Ah, good, good. Well, the thing is, when we were very young, which is when we started performing and getting into music, my dad was still, he was still performing. And I remember being in California. He had, packed us all up in the station wagon. We moved from New England. I think we were living in Massachusetts at the time. Went to California, and a ton of people in the business knew Pop. So, he we go to these record company meetings, and we're little kids,
Yeah.
four little stair steps, we're 1 year apart, so we're looking like little Jackson 5 wannabes. And we'd go to these meetings with my mom and my dad. And by the way, let's see, this was the late 70s, early 80s. So my mom is a white Jewish woman, and my dad is a really beautiful dark chocolate man. So we had that dynamic. So there was just the
Oh,
stairs were, yeah, the stairs were something else. But we would go to these meetings and we'd see celebrities of the times. My dad was good friends with uh, uh, Red Fox, who
okay.
was otherwise known as Fred Sanford,
Yeah, yeah, Red
Sanford and
Fox.
Son.
Yeah.
So he'd pull us up, and Dad and Red, they'd be hanging out, and we'd just be all in awe. And but we grew up in the environment. It was always music and entertainment, and so it got into my system. And as I became a teenager, and I'm listening to the music I want to listen to, what's on the radio, Lakeside and all the R&B, which is what I was listening to, and hip hop. Hip hop started popping. Um, that's why I just started going that direction. Now, Dad and them, Dad's like, "You play your jazz, boy," but I'm listening to my radio. I got it on R&B constantly, R&B and hip hop, and so that's what got at me. And then I started dabbling with creating. I had a dear friend of mine that was also, the kid musicians gravitated towards the kid musicians. So I found a friend of mine who played bass. I'm on drums. So we're like, no, we gotta record some music. And we didn't have any equipment. He got some equipment. I said, all right, let's go. And next thing you know, I'm trying to make music. But I should say this too. I'm speaking a lot because I want to get you up to where all this.
Yeah.
Before I started making tracks, the music part, I didn't have any music, so I had a little guitar. My dad taught me my first chords, and so I was big into Prince. This was mid '80s, and I was like, all right, well, I'm an emotional guy. I'm just gonna write songs. So I started out lyrically. So
Wow.
that's where I was before making any music. And once I realized that, I mean, I always knew music. It was always music in my life. I think I remember playing music before doing anything else, before, I mean, literally going to school. Um, Once I realized I had a knack for it, that was it. I saw stars. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna find my way up out of Charleston, South Carolina, in some way, somehow, and then the rest.
Yeah, it's out that you're back there
Yeah,
again
yeah.
right now, but
Yeah. I was going to say it's a total full circle moment.
yeah.
That'll be in the book. We'll talk about that later.
It'll be- but
That'll be in the book.
so so what was it that so who were the people that you were inspired by then, if not
Yeah.
jazz and classical, what were you listening to on the radio that you
Well, now mind you, my favorite people often ask me, and they'll assume, because of music I've worked on or that I play, it'd be one thing. But the music I listen to when I'm on my own time, it
Mhm.
is classical. I listen to Bach,
Oh,
Mendelssohn, Brahms, Mozart. But that's just, that's my own tranquility, my own sidestep. I came up listening to obviously Prince, Lionel Richie, huge
Oh,
fan, his songwriting. Um, like I said, Lakeside, Confunction. Uh, I listen to Kraftwerk, but hip hop. All the OGs, Melly Mel, uh, uh, Houdini.
okay.
Uh, I came up on that side. That was popping on the radio, and I when I became a teenager, I just dove in. So R&B
But
and
when you
hip
were
hop.
drumming and doing that, how did your parents, what was
Oh,
their reaction when they saw that, okay, you're not really
oh,
into the
okay, got
jazz
you.
classical?
Well, my mom, she was cool. She gave up her classical life to raise
Oh,
a bunch of children, and my
okay.
dad, just continued on playing. My dad also performed. He would do shows all over New England, and the music he would play would be, contemporary music. It wasn't always jazz, even though there would be some jazz he would be doing. So
Mm.
he got it. He knew that, pop music, R&B, radio music was the hit. So he was fine. The bigger thing, though, there's always a meeting of the dad and son, the fissure, the thing that happens between father and son. When I decided that I was going to do my own thing, he's like, you're gonna have to go through me. I mean, it was like that. It's just
Wow.
music. But so at first it was rocky, but then, he saw how, like, I would be up all night and I'd be in my headphones and I'd be, how serious I was about it. So he supported. He paid for my first demo recording session to make some songs, me and my brothers. So I was, you know, once I got through the jazz whip, I was good.
Yeah. Yeah, we've
Yeah,
seen with
I took it off. Yeah,
but
yeah.
what was
He
it that
it
you wanted?
was really a mini. It was a Joe Jackson. If anyone who knows the Jackson 5 story, it was parallel,
Yeah,
but it was
but was
cool.
it that what was his vision for you and your brothers?
Yes. Um. Well, he saw us as a because we came up in that time. He saw us as a Jackson 5. Like, he thought
Oh,
he was raising, you know, the next group. He took us. We got to meet Freddie Perrin, who's one of the legendary songwriters of some of those Jackson 5 hits, and we performed for him, and we did all of that. He was thinking he was going to have us make it as, you know the next little
oh, like the
group.
barge and okay.
Yep, DeBarge, Silvers, the group saying, "Yeah, perfect."
But
So
then,
that was the
were you guys
dream, but it
singing as
didn't
well?
happen.
Were you guys singing up? Because you
We,
mentioned a
we're
lot about
only
the.
singing. Yeah, we
Okay,
were singing. We played music, but
yeah.
he had us, as a group, four brothers singing. So that was the initial mission.
But then was he because he was into the jazz? What was the music he was envisioning for you guys to perform?
Got you. I got you. It was current. He did contemporary music. It was radio. It wasn't jazz. That
Okay.
was that was our training. That was a
Ah,
musical training, which is good because it brings you to your chops and your understanding of the critical mass of music. But he was all about the radio and what was happening at the time. So that was
okay.
him.
So
Yeah,
so you played the drums. What were your brothers playing?
yeah. My brothers, they were all. One of my brothers played sax. My other
Okay.
brothers played trumpet, but he would have us. He had a band that was my dad. So the guy would play bass, and there would be keys, and my brothers, we'd switch up on percussions. I'd be drumming horns. So it wasn't a full band, but we incorporated our ability to play music in the show. But it was something, man. New England, we had New England rocking. Like, my dad was selling tickets.
But for you guys or
Yeah.
for him, for his
So
group,
yeah,
for his band?
for the combination, he would do part of the show, then we
Oh,
do part of the
okay. What
show.
were you guys
We didn't
called?
get the tick. We didn't get the ticket sales. I guess we
Yeah.
got it the roof over our head. But,
But
we were
what
called the Morantian Four. The
the Moranchi
Morantian
for?
Four. He used
So
our last name, and went with it. Yeah.
so what do you think went wrong then? Why do you think it didn't
Oh man, this is so cool. I didn't even plan to go down. This is so essentially, we were good. But in retrospect, there was so many like Jackson 5 was popping, and then the Silvers came. So I think the timing was a little bit off.
Mm.
And we were also very young.
How old?
Like we weren't teenagers. We were we were in California. I'm the second oldest, so and I might have been 7. So we're
Oh,
talking 5, 6, and 7, and
yeah.
8. We were young, and we weren't. I don't think we were ready. And
Mm.
here's my dad. He's kicking. He's kicking ass, and he's like a Mr. Entertainer. He's a super performer. And then 4 little cute kids. That's cool, but we weren't ready.
Yeah, and
I,
you think about it because Michael,
humbly.
yeah, because Michael was the youngest, and even
Oh
Elle is
no.
the youngest. So you have the older ones who
Yeah,
sort of bridge the gap, and then the younger ones can shine. But if you're
musically.
all that young, it might just
Yeah.
seem a little
It
okay.
was I just think we weren't ready. I mean, I wouldn't know Michael Jackson in our group. Let's just keep
Okay,
it real like that. It's
okay.
just bottom. No, we were cool. We were cute. We knew our stuff, but nah, we were ready.
But then, when was the time when he says, "Okay, that's it. It's not going to work. Let's stop"? I mean, I mean, I would have thought, did you not continue until you
Um,
were teenagers and thought, okay, you.
Absolutely. Well, we continued. We, see, in my, we're kids, so now I can retrace the roots, and again, I've been writing about it, uh, but back then it was just a continual train of music. It didn't matter where we were, whether we were in New England, whether we were on the West Coast or down South. We were always doing music, and then I got to a point at the ripe old age of 11 where where my dad said, "All right, I'm going to bring you on some gigs. You play some songs." So I started playing behind him, and this is where jazz. It was I had to get real.
Mm,
I'm performing with him as his drummer,
wow.
and and I became his steady drummer. So 12 and 13, he's doing shows just locally, and next thing you know, as the years go by, I'm his drummer, and then I did that for I guess 4 or 5 years, and then by the time I was 17, I was looking at my own world like I'm graduating high school. I got a dream. So one thing kind of, it wasn't that there was that I remember an official stop, but I
Yeah.
imagine that they decided that that wasn't happening, and we're in school, and now we're settling down in South Carolina. So as my dad continued to perform, I became his drummer, and that was the next phase, essentially.
Okay.
So
Yeah, because then it did. I guess by the time you were 17, who were out? What kind of groups were out? And
that's when the Minneapolis sound was hitting,
the
Prince, and
Prince, the
so
time.
everything was absolutely the time. And see, that's how I was able to branch out. Me and my guys, I found some other friends who were teenagers but also played music. The time and Prince was hitting, so we became, we emulated that.
Okay.
That's what we were going for. So all the 80s music that was popping at the time. I remember Club Nouveau
Yeah.
uh, towards the end, and of course, Ready for the World. We were going to be ready for the world. I saw it. I saw it. I saw it plain as day. So we were going after that vibe, and then but then when hip hop really started hitting, when that late 80s hip hop and New Jack Swing
Yeah.
is over. Oh, I knew it. That was it. That was everything. When Bobby Brown, you know, uh, LA and Babyface, Teddy Riley, all these, everything started happening. Of course, Heavy D, Untouchables, all these. Thankfully, I ended up being able to be a part of that world. But that's what I was, when that came, that was it. I saw my lane. And
Yeah.
so,
And
yeah,
that's interesting because when I interviewed Melvin Riley Jr., he said that
love
they
him.
they want they did look emulate themselves after the time. I mean, because they saw that that was the vibe that they want, even though they were out in um
They were in Michigan. No, no, no. They
yeah.
were,
Yeah, so
right? Am I right? Michigan?
he was out out in Michigan,
Yeah.
out in those out of because he's a Steeler
Oh,
fan, but his
love
family's
them.
from Pittsburgh, but he was they
So
were
you
out
know them.
In Detroit. So, but he said that was the
Yeah,
sound that they were trying to
yeah.
emulate. But then and I
It
guess
was
a lot
it.
of groups did that, but when the New Jack sort of kicked in, it felt that it seemed more younger, more street and stuff, and stuff.
Transition. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I had the opportunity to meet Melvin Riley once I got into the business, and I swear I was a fanboy. I didn't even have a problem. We were just at we were at I think it's like a random party. It might have been in Brooklyn or somewhere, and I saw him. I was like, "That's Melvin Riley." I went right up to him. I was like, "Man, let me tell you, you helped me get my music popping." And he was the most humblest, sweetest dude.
Wow.
Um, Even with me and my brothers had one of the other guys, Willie Triplet, I think, was part of Ready for the World. They started looking for acts, and me and my brother connected with them. And he was like, "Man, I love you guys. We're trying to get acts together to do a production company." So you know, in my early stages, we started getting some attention. Another crew of producers, Denzel Foster, Thomas
Oh,
McElroy, who
yeah,
did
yeah.
and Vogue,
Yeah.
they were going to give us an opportunity to be a group. So my early phase in it was that was the music, the transition between Minneapolis and then New Jack. That's
Okay.
when I started finding my place. I loved both. I loved all of it. So I just
Yeah.
started consuming it all. Yeah.
So then what is it that you ended up doing then? Because if you stopped drumming for your
Yeah,
dad, what did you then try and get back to your brothers to form a group, or what were you trying to do?
absolutely. There it is. So I took the reins, once I once I was okay with pops again, I took the reins and started saying, "Hey guys, we're gonna be a group. We're gonna be like a Minneapolis Prince group or something, except not a band, but back to the singing, the brothers."
Okay.
And we recorded some demos. And at that time, there was this there were a lot of like you know internet is popping now, social media, all that. Wasn't none of that then.
Yeah.
So there were like some music conventions or some other things, and there was one music convention called Jack the Rapper.
Yeah, yeah,
This
I've
was in
heard.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
And everyone, it was basically just a big, where all the celebrities come, and you try to hustle your whatever you're doing and find someone to like you. I mean, again, it was a million and one shot. But because we were close to Atlanta, me and my brother, my older brother Joe Jr., we decided to scrape up, a couple of pennies and go to this convention, and hopefully maybe we can run into somebody. And we didn't have enough for, two tickets. So at the time, I was kind of shy. Like I was really reserved. I didn't really know how to navigate other than some music machines. So I said, "Man, you go and see if you can get down here and maybe run into somebody. Maybe we could find somebody, make it big, bring some demos." So it's the dream. You think that's what's going to
Yeah.
happen, but so we did that, and you know it's like a 4-day convention, and nothing's really happening, and but it's exciting. We're calling, we're talking to each other, and I'm like, "Okay, we'll just hang in there." And on the last day of the convention, Joe ran into this dude, this really nice, very like everybody's all R&B, got their streetwear, everybody's got that look, but this one guy looked like he might have been a professor or either an accountant or a banker or something. But uh, my brother Joe was like, I'm just talking to anybody. So he attempted to talk to this guy, and the guy responded. Because most people are like, "Yeah, okay, give me a tape," and then they walk on, whatever. But this guy stopped and had communications, and it was all good. And he said he's going to listen to the music. He knows some people. He's working with this cool company, um, and I'll get back to you. And so, we're excited. So Joe comes back to South Carolina. Nothing. We don't hear nothing. Nothing's going on. So we're like, well, back to the drawing board. And then we got a phone call, and the guy said, "Man, I like your music. What you did. This is cool. Let's keep working on it. And I'm gonna look out for you guys." Sure. Uh, but we formed a relationship, and he kept his word. And I remember I kept working on music and sent him some more things that he liked even more. And he said, "Hey, I want to put you on the phone with somebody. It's a friend of mine where I work with." It's one of our artists. And the guy gets on the phone and he's like, deep voice, hey, what's up? Yo, y'all's music is dope. I like it. And that's pretty much it. Got the phone, and that was Devontae Swing. And so the guy's name, I'm dragging it out. I should you got
No,
reel me in when you need to. But you could chop, edit, paste, because I can go for days. I'm telling you,
no,
I've
keep
already
going.
written 500 pages. But and the guy's name was Devontae Swing, of course, Jodeci, and super producer. And the man that took the tape and became my manager and the group's manager, his name's Bob Celestin.
Oh,
And
Bob from
Bob,
that heavy. I thought MC talked about him uptown.
B- Bob is let me tell you, he is the most, there's Andre Harrell, Jimmy Love, there's
I know
all the
Jimmy.
people, Eddie F, all these, and Bob. Bob is the guy in the back, in everybody's background.
Yeah, yeah.
Trust it. You mentioned Bob, and it's so Bob, and we're to this day, he's family. So Bob took the tape and went from there. But he was the GM, he was helping build Uptown. This was
Mm,
Uptown at the time. And they were blowing up.
mm.
So I'm freaking out. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Uptown? Because I know Jodeci, everything. And this is right before Mary J. Blige. So, but he's doing his thing. So time moves on, and we do our best to keep in touch. But that's basically all that's going on. But that lit the flame. That was enough to keep me motivated. So a year goes by, plenty of things happen in my personal life. I become a single dad. I'm 22 years old. It's crazy. That's a whole nother chapter. But we decided to move, that we're going to have to make a move. It's not going to happen if we stay in Charleston.
And who's we?
So me and my older brother Joe, because at that point it was just me and him. It wasn't all four of the brothers.
Okay.
One of the younger brothers had moved to Boston. But see, this is good because speaking with him, he said, "Well, come up to Boston. It's 4 hours from New York. At least you can, try and maybe go back and forth, catch the bus, whatever, and make it." So we decided to just get all our stuff in a little car, which is a friend's car, really, and drive up to Boston, way up in north, and hunker down and live on ramen noodles and do whatever you got to do. And but I was just determined. I had enough spark to believe
Mm.
that something can happen. So, and stayed in touch with Bob. Bob would always, it was something special about Bob, because Bob would always take my calls where, the business. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
get that people are busy, whatever, but he would always take the calls and encourage. But that also meant we didn't quite have, you know,
The stuff.
what it took or
Yeah.
what we needed at least, but that no matter, kept going. And but I'm rambling, man. I'm telling you, there's
No,
so
no, no, no,
much.
no,
So
no, no,
if
no.
you want to, you
Just
could
keep going.
throw out any questions. Okay,
Just
I'm
keep
sorry.
going.
I'm rambling because I just remember things so vividly. But
Yeah.
long story short,
No,
kept making
there's no
music.
shorts and stuff, but keep going. Yeah.
Right. Well. I kept making music. We scraped together to buy this machine. See, because first of all, I'm becoming this producer, but I had no equipment. So how do you do that? So I had a friend, a dear friend, help me get my first keyboard workstation so I could use that to write songs.
Mm.
So I got that before leaving Charleston, but then that wasn't enough. I'm listening to all the records, Heavy D, Father MC,
Yeah.
listen, all the Uptown Boys to Men, Dallas Austin. And I'm like, well, what are these people using? Like, how are they
Mm.
making this hot? What are they doing? And it's like, oh, sampling. Okay. So I need a sampler. So we scraped together to get this sampler, music maker called an Akai MPC 60.
Okay.
I got that thing. That was it. Nobody was stopping me. I started, sampling all these records. And this is where classical comes in. I decided for some reason that I was going to sample Mozart. I did
Wow.
this, man. You hear that now? I heard it on a Tory Lane song. I heard this song. I'm like, man, I did that before you fools was born. I mean, I've been doing that, and so I started making demos, and with these records, and my brothers would sing, and then I'd send them to Bob, or we'd send them wherever, Bob would, encourage us. But then in Boston, we connected with a guy. What? Oh man, his name was Nate. I forget Nate's last name, but Nate was a major, like he was one of the major dudes in the Boston scene. But he also helped co-manage Bobby Brown.
Oh.
Or he ran Bobby Brown's company, let's put it like that. And he had a guy that was a producer up and coming, and his name at the time, RIP, is like one of my brothers. We called him Margu. His name was Ralph Stacy. Ralph produced "In My Bed" for Drew Hill.
Wow.
So many, like countless artists, and he was a brother. He actually was our first producer. So we did these demos, and there's one song, and I remember it's called "We Just Met." We did the demo. We thought we were still going to be recording artists. That wasn't happening. But I said, well, all right, we're going to go to New York. And Bob, can we meet? And he had a moment he could meet with us. So we met Bob. I remember Bob taking us out to a restaurant, bought us lunch. We're catching the bus, the Greyhound bus. Trust me when I tell you. And he's looking at us. He's like, man, wait a minute. Because he only knew about me and my brother Joe, but I had all of us up there.
Oh,
So he's like, man, you guys could, all four of us.
your three brothers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So he's like, man, you guys could be a record. Y'all could be a group. Y'all sing? I was like, yeah, we do harmonies. We did the demo. We sung it. So he's like, all right, let's listen to some music. We went out in his car, sitting in the street. We were somewhere in Brooklyn, and he put on the first song. He's like this, okay, cool. I'm like, okay, cool. In my head, I'm like, oh man,
He doesn't like it.
Cool. Oh, come on, please, And so he put on the second one. That's cool. I'm like, oh man, there's only 2 songs left, man. Here we go again. And he's like, all right, let me see. Say, I'm gonna listen to one more. I'm like, God, please. So he put on the third one. And right then I saw his moving, and I saw his face, and I looked, and he's doing this. I'm like, oh, okay. He said, yo, that's a hit. And I'm thinking, what? I'm freaking out, whatever. But I'm trying to maintain my cool. He's like, that's a hit. I want to sign you guys. And I'm like, wait, what? Literally right then and there. Because Bob, he was like, man, I got my own production company, my own label, boom, boom, boom. And I have all the resources from Andre, Uptown, all of this. And Bob is also, the top entertainment attorney, to this day.
Mm.
Yeah, he's a big deal. So Bob's like, I'm gonna sign y'all. And that was it. He got paperwork together, we signed, and we put together the idea behind it. So Bob we spent time together. He came to Boston, we became boys, we became friends, and he learned about my background. He learned about the family, and he's looking at us and he's like, wait a minute, you guys, we need to do this, and we need to talk about this. We need to bring the culture into the different dynamics with you guys' interracial background. He was ahead of the game. And he said, and we were talking about red bone, this and that, because that's a term for usually used with girls, but red bone, light skin, whatever.
Okay.
So he's like, that's what we're going to call y'all red bone. So that became the name of our group. So let me see if I can jump to it. So put in the work. He says, y'all give me a year. I'm gonna get us a deal. And we grinded. The thing is, Bob knew everybody. Bob couldn't get a meeting with anybody. We ended up meeting with every record company, performing right then and there on the spot. We did this, and we grinded. We got a lot of favorable feedback, but nobody bit. At the time there was again, Jodeci, Boyz II Men, Mary J was popping, all these, the R&B, hip hop was, everything was hitting. We were some light skin, whatever. We didn't have all the. I'm just being honest. We didn't. It wasn't the look. It wasn't what was hitting. It was different.
Yeah.
So nobody was really, but Bob was convinced. So I remember at that time, Bob still maintained his relationship with all the different artists and producers. And Eddie F, my brother, he contacted Bob and asked him if he would help run his company, that Untouchables, and like the GM. And Bob started there and introduced me to Eddie. And Eddie was again, another just a real humble guy, focused, incredible, producer, mentor. And Bob was like, look, I'm gonna do this, but I'm doing my own thing too. Can you help me out with that? And Eddie was like, man, what do you need? And he's like, well, I at least want the back of your producers, because Eddie had Untouchable, all the top guys, Dave Hall, yeah, Kenny Smooth, all these producers, Spunk Burger, all these producers that was hitting, and all the record companies wanted to work on their artists. It's like, all right, well, you're gonna do something for my boys. And so nobody's biting yet, whatever. So we went and did some demos. And we did a demo with my guy Kenny Cornegay, who did Case and Changing Faces.
Mm.
And he's just dope producer. And a song, Calling Out Your Name. And Bob contacted Cassandra Mills, who was
Giant
responsible for
Records.
Jade and Giant Records. She's the queen. And she did Color Me Bad, New Jack City. I mean, she's a legend. And she met with us in a hotel room way up above New York City. We sat there. Bob sat there. Cassandra. We sung for her. She stopped us. She said, all right, we're doing the deal. You got some Untouchables producers. You can do some production. Boom, boom, boom. Deal done. Let me tell you something. Your boy, when he got back down to the streets of New York, your boy was weeping, because we from Charleston to that, sleeping in the Greyhound station, doing whatever to doing this. It happened, and within a year, as Bob promised, and that was the launch pad for everything to come. It started as a group. It was not, it's funny because we started as a group. That didn't work, so I thought I was going to be a songwriter. The next thing you know, we're a group again. It's a weird cyclical thing that I didn't understand, but I just rolled with it. And the fun part is, after all that, it went back to songwriting and production. Essentially, we got a deal, and right soon after, Giant shut down. Yep. Yep. Cassandra could, she would tell you the whole story. So Giant shut down, and our deal was shelved, along with all the, who was it? We didn't come out yet. We did everything. We had the record, we did the photo shoots. We had all the promo. We had people. We had, Dave, Eddie, Kenny. We had the whole Untouchables crew.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was something. But so I'm gonna segue into one more thing, and I'm gonna shut up. And you
no, keep.
So in that experience, though, two things happened. My relationship with Eddie started, and I didn't realize it. We knew each other from Bob, and he was very welcoming. I remember him having this showcase at his house. He invited Bob, and it was for Untouchables. But he invited Bob and me and my brothers to come. We did a little performance. I'm playing drums and my boys, and they welcomed us. He had all these artists. One of the artists was, again, I didn't know at the time, was a group that Donell Jones was in. They were all there, and it open arms. So we became cool, but from a distance. He's rocking the whole wide world, and I'm just whatever. I'm hopeful. But also, at the time, Buddy Wyke and another guy were stepping into production and writing, and Intro was blown up. Like, man, Intro was the hit. And so I heard one of the songs. I was like, oh, the song is so dope. So they produced a song for Redbone, and me and Buddy formed a friendship that to this day. So all that happened, and But the deal fell, everything got shelved, and then I was, guess where, back in Charleston again.
Oh.
So yeah,
You know what
and
is
then
interesting? Yeah, it's interesting about because I've interviewed Donell twice, and he spoke about he
yeah,
and his group going to Eddie's house,
yeah,
and I think
yeah,
someone put a hole in his wall, and they were playing,
yeah,
and he kicked everyone out, but got
yeah,
Donell
yeah.
back
I
because
remember.
oh, you remember
I
that?
remember that. I definitely was there. Crazy. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
because Donell said he was always always producing and always working, and everyone else was
yeah,
playing, and so he got called back
yeah.
and stuff. Then also speaking to Buddy, talking about how Eddie F did a showcase just playing all their music, and it was how everyone was bidding and stuff for that. So
I'm
it's
telling
interesting
you, man.
hearing the story from the other side, from both
Yeah,
Buddy and also from Donell about Eddie and about that experience.
I'm. It is the nucleus, and it was like that. The entire that entire community. Bob, one of the first places Bob took us to was Mark. Was Corey Rooney had a studio, so it was Mark Morales, R.I.P.
Mm,
And Corey Rooney, and they were producing. They had done Mary J. Blige, so
yeah.
they was out of here, and they were working on Father MC at the time. So we went to the
Mm,
studio. We sung, we did the whole thing, and they were cool. But that that whole world, everybody's connected. And
mm,
Eddie was, it was definitely, he was the dude, and it was that all the artists were able to. It's so funny, Donell. That's really true. He was always working like that, and I guess that's what happened with me. Like, me and my brothers were doing our thing, but I was always labbing. I was always in that lab. Like I was obsessed. And what happens is that ends up parting things. It's not that the groups, everybody does their thing. I could tell you that's what happened with Pink. I know Pink. She was in a group, but
no
she
choice, yeah.
was okay. So, oh
Yeah.
man, we go all day.
No,
But
no, no.
anyway,
You
so
could, yeah, no.
but
Even what's his
but,
name, Daryl Simmons. When
yeah,
I spoke
yeah,
to him, he said about how she was different from the
that's
rest of
how
the
it
girls,
went.
and she was,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Oh, see, I got my Pink. So Pink was my homie. So
oh, did
I
you know her
mean,
before she was
but
Win Choice?
yes, right. Well, no, no. I knew
Mm.
her after Choice, right before she was about to come, like right when she was coming out, when she was coming
Oh,
out as a solo artist. So there was
okay.
a window there that I fell into, and I love her. She's one of the best. Period. Like, um,
But how did
but
which is that when she was coming up as R&B? Then how did that? Was she
yeah,
always?
well, it's crazy. Okay, we'll jump to Pink. So
Yeah, that's
when
it.
I met Pink. There was a brother of mine named Will Baker. Will Baker's a writer and producer. His first hit was a number one hit that he did with Will and Pete. It was a duo for uh oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the group. They had this hit. Maybe I'll remember later. Anyways, and he was doing things, and I was working on a group and an artist, and somebody connected us, and he mentioned this artist Pink. Well, see, I'm jumping forward, but the reason why some of that came in my direction is because once I got into the music thing, I started out in the pop world. It was strictly by chance. In other words, my heart, my R&B world, my R&B heart, my R&B life caught a pause for a minute, and I found my way back. But I began in pop, just by a series of interesting events.
Yeah.
So as that happened, people would say, "Well, you work with these guys, so I know this girl, this white girl, she's fly, blah, 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 blah." So we went to Atlanta, and I met Pink. We hit it off. I remember going to her apartment, and she played all this music. And I was like, wait a minute, you are talented. She grabbed an acoustic guitar and started singing. She had a rock and soul vibe. She played songs that their group did, but then she was sharing all this R&B that was real, like real R&B, not pop R&B. And I was like, okay. And she goes, yeah, LA was like, okay, we're gonna put you're gonna be solo. I was like, no question, you're gonna crush. she just had her whole, you know, her
Mm.
pink vibe. It was crazy. And I remember when she played that first hit she did with was it Tricky? Maybe the producer, but it was Here We Go, There You Go.
Yeah, here we
Her,
yeah,
her,
yeah,
her,
yeah.
her very first song. We're in the studio and she playing it over and over and over. And she's just so excited and proud of it. And I'm listening to this, I'm like, oh shoot, she's about to be out of here. And maybe, you know, so then this is in Atlanta. And then I remember next time I saw her, and it was in LA, and she was blown up. She's doing MTV. She's here, there, everywhere. Cool as could be, same girl. You know, she's not presumptuous. She's just down to earth. But she had the vibe. But yeah, it was cool. We did a song together, and it didn't end up on any of her albums. It was a
Okay.
personal song where I played the guitar riff, looped it up, played a beat, kept it raw, and she did it. It was about her growing up. Like it had to do with. It was called Streets of Philly, and when I met her, that's what we did music. So it was
Oh, and
cool.
you didn't, and no one got it. Who does she have it? Do you have it, or what happened to it?
I have it. Oh yeah, I have it. I have all, man. I have so much music. A lot of it, didn't get released, but stuff that we did together is dope.
So
If
what
I played it,
happens to
if
it
I
though?
ran into it and played it,
But what happens to when you do a session like that? Who owns it, or who sort of labels it?
man,
Hey,
let
yeah,
me tell
that's
you, that is a spaghetti train. I'm not even me. And it's funny. I need to get with Bob again. Bob is like, man, you need to get with all these labels and ASCAP and BMI and start figuring out what's going on. Where is everything? But it just ends up everywhere. I have some of the music, but because of the way things were recorded then, it has to be transferred digital. A lot of stuff was still tape or digital audio tape
mm.
or CD to so it just it's just there if someone has it. Eddie was good at archiving. Eddie has a ton of songs that we did, but
Did
I'm
you?
scattered, man. You
No,
you have to reel me in.
yeah. Did you do stuff
There's so much.
with Kenny with Kenny
Yes,
Green?
yes, absolutely. So by now, so we're not now. I'm producing. I'm like, it's funny because Eddie called me. I remember. Let me just focus on Kenny Green. Here's the
No,
thing.
no. Look, we can
Me and
come back to
Eddie.
Kenny Green, but how did you then? Okay, you and your brothers, and Cassandra says, "No, well, I've lost my label because of all the mergers and all
Yeah,
the R&B
yeah,
labels were
yep,
closing down."
yep, yep,
Then how did your producing start becoming? How did
yeah.
who?
So that's another crazy one. Like, eh, I was like, man, well, the money's gone. The record company advance that you get that's so hot, it's gone. It was a year and a half, 2 years, whatever later. Everything's done. I'm a single dad. You
Mm,
know, I got to figure something out. I came home back to mom and dad. I'm in Charleston. I'm like, well, whew, went for it. And, it was cool. But I don't know. So it was kind of just a regrouping, shell shock. Don't know what I'm going to do, but I piddle away. I got some equipment by then, piddling away, just making some beats just because I can't let it go.
mm,
And I had a dear friend of mine, and Bob's still right there. Bob's like, nah, I'm going to find us another deal. I'm going to find us an international deal because now things are picking up in Europe and
ah,
all this. So that was the plan. And that plan was good. And so, but meantime, got to figure it out. So I'm working on some music and um, I kept in touch with another friend of mine who ran one of the biggest recording studios in New York and where we did the Redbone record. And, again, it was different then. Like you went to the studio, you wouldn't just do recording at your house.
yeah.
You set up in a studio, people come in, you do your thing. So, we maintained a friendship throughout. And so she was involved in like many artists. And she said, hey, we're talking on the phone one day. She goes, uh, what about, and the thought didn't cross my mind yet. She goes, well, why don't you produce for other people? And I was like, I'm still stuck in group mode, like we're gonna be stars or whatever. I mean, I could do songs, I'm down with that. I don't know how or what. She goes, well, why don't you just work on some songs or stuff you like and let me hear some and maybe we can get hooked up something. So she so I did it because I what else? I have nothing going on. And she got the demos. I did. She goes. I love the beats. I'm gonna help you out. Will you come up to New York? Come back up to New York. Do some demos. You could bring your brother Joe. She knew that Joe was the lead singer of Redbone, and he could sing the demos. So, and we'll do some demos and see what happens. So we did that. We went up. She put me in the studio, doing all this. I'm like, just the love of a friend. So we're doing it, and I did. I want to say 3 songs at the most. And so, I felt, okay, these might be cool. So here we go again. So she actually, she's dealing with all the record labels, all of them. And, she's like, hey, well, I know you got your artists coming in, whatever. Can you check out these songs? And so one person said, okay, I'll check it out. And so I'm up there, and she sets this meeting up. We're down in the lab in the studio. And the guy comes in from the record company, and we're sitting there, and now this guy, man, he's ominous. He wasn't all friendly and welcoming. He's sitting there, and he knew he had the power, and I'm sitting there like, oh. And so I'm reliving this.
Yeah, no, go ahead, go
so
ahead.
Bear with me. So he comes in, and she goes, and she's introducing, she explains the relationship. She mentions Bob. We talk about things because everybody knows Bob. He's like, oh yeah. And he sits down on the couch, man. He's like this. He says, all right, play me something. Man, I'm like, man, send me back to Charleston, man. My dad hooked me up with construction or whatever. And the first song, and you always put your best foot forward. So I put my first song on. It was the song. It was it. He's sitting there, 30, 45 seconds in. By the time it gets to the chorus, he's like, play me the next one. That was it, man. My heart said, man, okay, that's it. I appreciate you. Thanks for all this. Inside, I didn't say anything. I'm just sitting there like, he's going by the smash. So I'm like, he puts the second song on. I'm not even looking. Basically, I'm almost at the door. I'm like, just disappointed, but trying to hang in there. But then I look at Suzanne. Suzanne starts smiling. Suzanne is my friend. And then I look at the dude. The dude, you could see his eyes. I'll take my shades off. His eyes was like getting wide, and so I'm like, wait, I'm getting a little anxious. And he stopped it. Once he heard the chorus, stop. Come with me. I'm like, wait, what? I'm gonna get a car. They're gonna pick us up. We're going to the label. And I don't know what's going on. So it's like, go ahead. So we go on, and he takes me over there, puts me in this big room. It's all lavish, luxurious. I'm like, what is going on? This is crazy. No. And so I'm sitting there. It's just me. The assistant comes in, bring me something to drink, and nobody. I'm just sitting there. I'm looking at all these platinum albums on. It's
intimidating.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah,
it really is. It's intimidating. I'm like, maybe who knows what this means? Because again, I've been there a little bit before, and then I ended up back home. So he comes in with this other guy and presses play, puts the tape in. Other guy's like, cool. They stop tape, and they just both get up and walk out the room. I'm like, oh man, dang it didn't work. Comes back in, he goes, are you signed to anybody's publishing? And I go, well, no. He goes, we want to offer you a publishing deal for your song. We might get another producer to produce it, but we have an artist that we think this would work for. And then everything just sounded like I didn't even care because my mind is blown because they're literally offering me a deal right then and there. And then the one guy says, all right, I got to have a meeting. He was like the vice president or whatever, and walks out. And so the other guy says, hey, we're going to need you to stay for a few days if you can do that. We're going to put you up at a hotel. It just starts up this whole, and I'm still just hearing womp womp because I cannot believe this is happening. So long story short, the group was these little white boys out of Orlando, Florida, called the Backstreet Boys, who nobody knew. and at first they just wanted my song because they already had producers that were well entrenched with the guys. And I get that, whatever. I don't care. Take the song, praise the Lord. And but then the other producer said, "Hey man, this kind of needs to stay like it is. We can do some adjustments, but the beats." So it's like, well, how about you guys want to produce it together? And so they put me together with their producer, which was Timmy Allen. Timmy was a VP over at the label. Timmy also, he produced Joe, he produced High Five, he produced just so many artists. It was an incredible bass player, incredible musician. And Timmy became my partner in that project and showed me a lot of the ropes. And that was my entrance into production and songwriting. And little did anybody knew, what was going to happen with those guys. But there it is.
This is over at Jive.
And that's what happened. The Jive Records. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. The
yeah.
But now, when they offered you the deal, did you call Bob to let him know what was happening?
Oh yeah. Oh, of course. Well, see, what was cool is Bob was my manager.
Okay, so
he manager
knew
on the whole level, so he knew. But he also, he's top dog attorney. Everybody knew. So that was their first question. It was like, who's representing? It was like Bob. I said Bob Celestin. He's like, oh, Bob, no problem. We do business with Bob all the time. So it was easy to get the deal done and to make sure things were maintained and done right, because I had, I'm clueless. I don't know. I'm over here again, ramen noodles. And now you're offering me this, this deal got zeros in it. I'm like, wait, what? And so Bob made it happen. And, yeah, man, it was crazy.
So most of my guests.
So the guy was Dave McPherson.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, so most of my guests, we is he the same Dave McPherson that signed Rough Ends? Yes, it was Dave McPherson. Yes,
probably. Dave signed. Man, Dave is.
Yeah, he was at. Was he not at Sony? Did he move to? Yes,
B2K.
Yes, because Jive, Sony bought out Jive.
Yep.
And so, because Dave McPherson is the guy who
went over to Sony. Yeah.
Sony, so he signed. Yeah, so when I interviewed Dave Chance from
he signed the Backstreet Boys
from Rough Ends, he said it was Dave McPherson that gave them a shot when he had the song. Okay,
Dave was the dude. Dave was my guy too. Let me tell you.
Everyone.
I was scared of him at first, but then we became dudes. He was my guy. Yeah, we actually, it's crazy. We did a song for the Backstreet Boys that ended up on their first international album, and it was me and Dave who co-wrote, and Jeff Sledge, who was another A&R dude, who big time, and me. And Tim, we did the song together, and so he actually wrote a little bit. It was fun times.
To get his name on.
He knew. Okay, he knew. Can't be mad at him. He knew.
Yeah, but then because part of the biggest things about the industry is how they take advantage of unassuming young acts. Like, we'll give you all this money in advance and stuff. Were you protected? Yeah. Or did you fall victim like many else? Because
here's the thing. It's kind of too, in hindsight, you're always going to say, man, I was victim, this and that. Bob did a good job of like Bob was just the best protecting me. But, it's never, getting your start when you first rolling, it's never going to be what you look back and say, man, I should have been this and that. I mean, that's the nature of it. So I didn't really I can't say I got taken so much. I've been around it. I've seen it happen, again, being around the boys, their things well publicized, a lot of stuff that they went through with Lou Pearlman and, God rest the dead. But, so I've seen it. And again, it's a different day now, because where we understand things now, people would be like, man, I would have never, this and that. Yeah, let me tell you, when you a single dad, single mom, you trying to, feed your people, and someone says, boom, I'm going to take you off the street. And not only that, I'm going to make you a whatever it is. Oh, you're going to take that deal every time. So, and then if you can shine, you shine, and, do what you can.
Okay.
So 50-50,
Okay. I mean, but so when you was so did Zomba sign you to a production deal
See, you know it. You know the drill. Zomba Publishing. Yeah, I'm still, I think, this is what me and Bob got to get to. I'm still legally bound to them, even after all this. I think I'm still contractually, yeah, in that respect, yeah, they know what they're doing. They're not playing. They sign you to terms of whatever. It could be like 5 years, 7 years, whatever. But they got you forever until things roll over. Contracts in the business are fun things.
Wow,
But
okay.
yeah, so they signed me to a publishing deal for writing. So for half or whatever it is, 25% or something like that, and they give you these advances. Yeah, and so that's what it was. Again, the production part just happened, was a blessing afterwards, because it was really just about songwriting, which again, I said is cyclical because I thought it was going to be a group. And then it came back to, the fact that I was able to write stuff that got me through. And then, then I thought I'm a songwriter. So I literally moved to Brooklyn in Bob's. Him and his family had this brownstone, and the basement was literally a historical archive of records, albums, music. Bob's brother, Fritz, is a DJ. And Fritz was my dude. So me and Fritz was like, man, I got all this. So I took my equipment, set it up in Bob's basement, and lived down there and just start making music and just living the whole New York vibe. I'm here from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm transplanting to Brooklyn, and I'm becoming Brooklyn. So I just immersed myself in it, started making music. And by then I was I was all about relationships. I love people. I'm a people dude. I'm people in music. So everywhere I went, record company, Jive, wherever, I'm making friends. So I just maintained friendships with all these people. So when I started making music, I go, set up a little meeting. And one of my friends who worked at Untouchables, through Bob and all, heard that I was doing some music and said, well, Mookie, drop me some music. And I was like, okay, cool. Here you go. Just whatever, check it out. And then they called me and said, oh, my guy's just started his label and he wants you to do a song for their group. I was like, boom. Bob put a deal together. We did a song, and it was Dave Hall, a Hall of Fame record. So he had his group Assorted Flavors and through Sony, and I did a song, and then one thing led to another. I just started continuing down that path, and so next thing you know, someone else in Eddie's office was like hearing some music, and and again, I'm still green at this point. Like everything to me, I'm looking at the big city. I'm like, man, wow, I can't even believe what is this that's happening. Yeah, I'm I don't know if it was so much humble, just I was always grateful. Like I couldn't believe it because I always think about I'm just this kid with a dream. So I got a phone call over at Bob's house because I'm living there, and they left a message because I wasn't there at the time, and it was this voice said, "Hey, you give me a call." Left a number. This is Eddie. I'm like, Eddie. Who's Eddie? I'm not putting it together. So I called the thing and he picks up, yo, what's up? This is Ed. I'm like, Eddie F. Eddie F. What? Because this is the dude, He's like, yo, I'm the VP of LaFace now. I'm working on an artist. I want you to come over. I heard some of your music is dope, but come bring me some more. Boom. So he sets this meeting up, and I go over to LaFace is in the RCA building, whatever the building is, a building in New York. And, again, I'm getting out the elevator. It's all, imposing and just crazy. And I go into this office, again, it's crazy office. Sitting there, the assistant sits me down and waiting. He'll be right there. Eddie comes in and says, yo, what up? Boom, boom, boom. It's cool. Playing the music, bopping, like that one. Playing another, boom, like that one. Boom. He's like, I want all of them. Done. We're gonna do the deal. And it's for my artist. And then they're gonna tell you all about it. I got to go in this meeting, but we're in. Boom, done. I'm walking out. I'm in a fog. I can't believe this. It's like everything is popping. And then they ended up sharing with me who the artist is, and his name was Donell Jones. And so next thing you know, I'm at Eddie's house. I'm in New York. And then me and Donell, man, we hunkered down. We got in that lab and worked on his first record, and became friends. And to this day, this is my brother.
Oh, which ones did you do?
And so we did on his first album, My Heart. We did You Should Know, which ended up being a single. It was like a top 15, top 10 R&B hit. I'm all up tempo. That's my vibe. So I did You Should Know. We did Waiting on You. We did The Only One You Need, which used the Mobb Deep sample. We did like 4 records together, and me, Donell, and Eddie, and again formed a friendship, man. That's lasted through time. It's really cool.
Wow,
special, and yeah.
So then, I mean, just moving to you started producing. I mean, so what was there one of your biggest albums or songs that you've done that you'd look back and reflect on?
I mean, all of I didn't have so many. We had the single You Should Know for Donell, and I was proud of that. I remember I was in Europe and I was at a spot and I heard it come on and I saw these people on the dance floor and that blew my mind. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Can't even conceive this. And we was in Amsterdam or something. And but all my songs were mostly album cuts. But I got to work with all these artists, and the Boys album sold, I don't even know, like 15 million or something in Europe.
Which Backstreet, you mean?
Backstreet Boys. I'm sorry.
Because when you said the Boys, I'm thinking about Down My Heart.
The Boys. The group. Right. I love those. Little guys. But so that sold a lot. And I ended up working with Ginuwine for the Men in Black project. That's like 6 million worldwide. We did a song together for that album. And then I did 2 songs for his 100% Ginuwine album. I did, and then I segued into representing this artist. So I stepped in kind of a managerial role that the Backstreet Boys signed to their label. So again, full circle, back from R&B to pop. And we did a song for the Princess Diaries soundtrack that sold 1 million records. It was the single. It was called Supergirl. And so that was a big deal. And man, I tell you, I just had the opportunity to work with and interact with so many different artists. I mean, sometimes I forget. Like if you mention a name, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I remember." I worked with me and Timmy Allen worked with Ashanti. I didn't know who she was. This was right when she was, was heating up, and there was some bidding, and Jive wanted to sign her, and all this was happening before she, started doing all her writing and stuff. But I met her and Tina and her mom, and we just had a great vibe. And then didn't see her, and then saw a couple of years later at Def Jam, and I still didn't know who she was. And I heard Mookie, and I turned around. I'm like, "Wait a minute, you're Ashanti!" and it occurred to me that you're that little girl that we was working on your records with, and you're that Ashanti. So it's like, those are the types of things that happen. Just working with all these artists, Trey Lorenz, who's one of the most underrated, most unbelievable vocalists on the planet. Trey did I'll Be There with Mariah Carey, and so I worked with him, and we formed a friendship. And I remember it was him that introduced me officially to Will Smith, even though I had already worked on his Men in Black project.
Yeah,
he took me to a session, and Will was like, "Yo, that's the dude. That's the dude who did that song with Ginuwine." And I remember him coming, "Yo, that's my favorite joint on the album." I'm like, "Oh, cool, thanks, man." So, but the interaction, spending time with Mariah and just all these, it was just, it was special. That was a crazy, crazy ride from being a Jackson 5 wannabe to really, living a dream. It was something.
So what is, I know the industry has changed quite a bit. There's R&B
Yeah,
doesn't,
yeah,
on labels aren't
yeah. It's
signing
different.
R&B producers,
It's
songwriters,
different.
singers.
Totally different.
You have the big heavyweights. Very few of them are still making,
Yeah,
Rodney's is one who's still able to
yeah,
still
yeah,
make big records
yeah,
now, and sometimes Timberland, but not as much
yeah.
as it used to be. So for yourself, as a songwriter producer from what is it? What happens now when it comes to getting the call to come write work on tracks?
Wow. You know, that was a part of my life. I'm back now, Mr. Mom. I my kids. After I was done the business, I essentially came right back full circle with Charleston. I'm still doing music, playing back on my drums, and taking care of just spending time with my children. But of course, I love the music part. It's different now. You work on your computer. On my phone, I could do a whole song on my phone and send it to someone, and you interact that way. Um, and I enjoy it. I embrace it. I don't think it's some people are like, but whatever keeps the music flowing.
Mm,
Certain parts of it do detach the human component. That's the part that I do miss. There's something about the fire and something about the energy and the resolve that it even takes to make the steps to build you up, like sleeping in a Greyhound bus station.
mm,
Who would do that right now to
yeah.
make a deal? I'm just gonna get on my but I'm gonna make it. I have
Mm,
a dream, so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do this. A lot of that's gone,
mm.
so miss that. But these young. The good thing is now they're getting their bags. It's a different day. They're making it happen, and that whole taking advantage thing it doesn't happen so much
Doesn't
now.
have, yeah.
Or it might take a different shape, but it's a different level because now being taken advantage of it. Oh, I'll take it. You can take advantage of me because it's a different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a whole different number because people are able to go direct to
Mm.
consumer. So if you catch on or you TikTok or whatever pops for you, you don't have to worry about getting like 5%. You might give 5%.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's
So I can appreciate that.
yeah. Jimmy Love was saying the same thing, that it is
Yeah.
about social media presence and followers, and
Yeah.
it's and
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
labels are
Yeah.
paying to be part of you as opposed to before.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I'll tell you,
yeah,
I've and now one thing I found a love. I've always written, but now I'm going to announce this here today. I haven't really kept it close, but I'm actually writing a book. A publisher saw me chatting about some things and said, "You need to tell us. You have a story to tell." So I've been working on a book, and 2023, it's coming. So when it comes out, we'll reconnect for
yeah.
sure because it's the stories. There isn't enough video tape to catch it all.
Yeah.
Uh, but so and I've begun in the past year speaking publicly,
Okay.
just different organizations, corporations, and different topics, mostly music, but also speaking in terms of diversity and inclusion. Because in my own world, I mean, I come from a split world, so it's been interesting to share from a musical perspective and from a music business perspective with corporations, people who don't know anything about it but are hungry to understand the workings of just life. They're life issues that we all navigate through, whether it's race or whether it's and remembering that music impacts everyone's life. So
Yeah.
everybody wants to understand how the connection works. But
Yeah, but
so
because I was going to
we
ask
evolve. Yeah.
about that, because you said you start off by talking about your mom being Jewish, and
Yeah. Yeah.
then there seems to be in North America, there's some
Yeah.
perceptions from the Black community around the Jewish community, especially when it comes to entertainment.
Oof.
And how did you navigate
Yeah.
around that?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. The good news, and I'm gonna say I'm thankful because I hate to have to answer that. I might have to get an edit, but truthfully, having and was the importance of having someone in your corner like a Bob Celestin. Bob was so ingrained in the business till all I had to do was he was like, "You make that music. I got you on this level." So um, I just made music. I was aware. When you see uh we got eyes, so I saw who was making decisions and all that, but I didn't think too much about it because I'll tell you, coming up with my folks, again, full circle, my dad, we would, in the 70s, my dad would be this black man, real black man, performing for all these white folks. We're in New England, we're in New Hampshire, Massachusetts. Are you kidding me? We're doing shows at all these white arenas, and they're dying. They're like, "Oh, my dad!" And so, and as far as schooling, we were always around all the different diverse groups of people. And in my own house was a walking, talking diversity experience. So I just kind of looked at it like, and I'm an idealist. I thought that, younger, I was like, I'm going to write music. Look at Prince. Look at Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie. They're breaking these barriers. I'm going to write music, and that's going to help heal the world. So, I just always looked at it like, man, if, we have these divisions, but music seems to be something that is able to break through, able to, kind of, take the noise out of the way in many ways, able to take the edge off. So I just kept going about it like that, just totally positive.
Because I think most of the things we know
need
about Black Americans is that
yeah.
there are a variety of skin colors. So Colin Powell is as light skinned as, say, Christopher Williams.
Yep.
So
Yep.
And or even Elder Bard. So I don't know if did many people see you
my brother I'll be sure.
Yeah, I'll be sure. So would people look at you and would they notice that you're mixed race, or is it hard to tell?
You're not going to know because, again, a lot of black folk could be like near white, but have both black parents. But through the generations, we all know about roots. We know what happened. It filters down. It just happened that my mom and dad met and fell in love, and both were musical warriors. So it was all irrelevant, and they filtered that down to their children, and that's just what we knew. That's what we, music and togetherness in my household made it so that, that's how I see it. So when I look back, even though, I have this thing I call zero coincidences, it's not a coincidence, in my humble opinion, that somehow, even in my R&B hip hop roots, the first record I ended up working on was a bunch of cool little white boys who love R&B, but diverse. Then the next thing you know, I'm working with Donell Jones, but then I'm back working on a Princess Diary soundtrack. So it's emblematic of my life. I like to think that that's not by accident. I think it's by design somehow. But either way, it's an example that, in many ways, it can all be, and we all kind of come together, and music has been a foundation for that. So you can take it back to James Brown, you could take it back to Sam Cooke and Nat King Cole, all artists who crossed over, because you can't stop music when it comes to do with the divisiveness. It's not gonna fly there. That's why you get your Eminems and your Elvis Presleys, and so it's what it is.
Yeah, but you didn't feel any. There was no. But having a Jewish white mom, did that having any effect on your career? Do you think it opened other doors, or it might have closed some doors, or do you think that had no factor?
No, because by that time, my mom and dad, they were just mom and dad. I kind of, I just went for it. I just went on my own path, and they were there and watching. We're very grateful and thankful I was able to break through. But no, not at all. I don't even think people know. We didn't really speak about it too
Yeah.
much. Some people knew my dad as a musician because he's very well known in New York. And we got him to play a horn on a remix we did with Donell. And so, I brought him in and it was fun, but it wasn't, there was none of that.
Okay.
Me out there
It
doing
would
my
have been a
thing.
crazy myth if you say, yeah, suddenly we're getting calls from vice presidents because they say, yeah, we know your mom, she was,
Look,
through at a
if
bar
it would
mitzvah
have,
and stuff, and then all of a sudden, so that's why.
that's so good. It's so good. It's funny because she's from New York, so who knows? But yeah, no, she was just in the background being mom. So no, if it would have helped though, I would have been glad,
Yeah. No, because
But it was
I listened to Steve
yeah,
Rifkin in an interview, and he talked about
oh
how
yeah, man,
he got called,
yeah,
said, come on, we want to give you a record deal. Then it's like, okay, we want you to do a movie and be a producer. And it's like, well, okay.
I
It was,
mean,
doors were
yeah,
opening just because of his family
yeah,
connection. And so,
that's that connection, but that goes in, we know companies, that's what they do, nepotism is strong, when it comes to do with that. So I get that too. But
yeah.
yeah, man.
So we should
Yeah.
look forward to a book coming out in 2023.
Yeah. Yes, 2023. I'll get with you on the title. We're pretty nailed down on the title, but I'm not gonna I'm gonna let that slide. When we get closer, I'll start really hitting it hard and making everybody aware so maybe we can reconnect. Maybe I can I'm actually going. My birthday's tomorrow, so I'm actually
Okay.
going down to my brother Buddy and
Yeah.
Jeff. They got a show in North Carolina. They're doing some shows, and I happen to be free, so I'm gonna go up to Charlotte and hang with my guys for the birthday. Buddies, so
Okay.
uh,
Yeah. Buddy, retired police
so
officer.
maybe yeah, man, yeah. See, we do it all. There's
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do it all.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, and it'd be yeah, because yeah, it's a buddy, but yeah, I've told Buddy
Yeah,
once they're ready to, we'll get him back
yeah,
in the new
definitely. I
year.
gotta get you. I gotta connect you. Let me tell you who you to have fun with. If I can get him, is Bob. Bob is the everything. Bob can take you from the
Okay.
beginning, the
Okay.
humble beginnings of Uptown to present day. I remember I took my girls because now it's just all fun. I took my girls to New York, and I always see Bob when I'm there. And Bob's like, "Hold up." So he gets designer on the phone because he works with designer. He did all this stuff and FaceTime. Say hi to my nieces and my girls. I'm like, yeah. And so it's fun now. We get to do
Yeah.
that type of thing. So he could walk the journey with you. You'd
Yeah,
appreciate that.
it'd
So
be interesting because
if
as
I
I
can
said,
connect you guys,
both Jimmy
yeah,
Love and Father MC,
yeah,
both of
yeah,
them speak, especially Father
yeah,
MC. Well, Jimmy Love, I had him
yeah.
for an hour, 3 hours,
Oh,
but
I
Father
love
talks
him.
about
He's
how
awesome.
Bob helps with help with stuff. Um,
I'm telling you.
so before I always ask my guests that if you were stuck in an elevator and you had to watch a movie to sort of keep time, what's your favorite movie that you'd pick?
Oh man, see, well, this might not even, after all of this classical conversation, probably might not come as a surprise. But the movie that got me was Amadeus,
Oh, the
and it was
Mozart
about the
stuff.
life of Mozart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when I saw that, I could relate,
Wow.
even though it's totally different musically,
Mm,
but because I had a love for classical. But there was one line that Salieri, who was the nemesis of Amadeus, who
mm,
wanted to be Amadeus, he said, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember his quote, but he said, didn't just know what music meant to me. And it just hit me. I was like, and I saw this movie right before I was going to go try and make it.
yeah.
And when it hit me and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. So it really, to this day, it would be that. Also, Purple Rain. Got to give it up to
Yeah.
Purple Rain because I saw that and I knew I was going to be Prince. So so after that,
Yeah.
that was it. Those two movies right there would be.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things about it's hard. It's always a challenge for me to watch Mozart, Amadeus, just because he a genius prodigy who how his life ended so poorly
Yeah, yeah,
and stuff, and
yes, yes.
but also the fact that he was so that's where you notice when somebody has a gift that
A
it just
gift,
comes
man.
naturally. And this other
Yes.
guy, Ben Abrahams, who played the Salieri,
Yes.
he was
Salieri,
working
yes.
hard and doing that, and he was
Yes.
trained, but he could never match up to somebody who could just wake up and all the songs and notes come out. And I tell people that when they think about talent and production, is that if at a 5, 10-year-old, this guy could write a whole symphony and hear all these parts,
Wow.
I don't think he's. I think he's unmatched to anyone today who can create music, because he was hearing all this stuff and he was putting it down on paper. It's being a classical composer at that young age, when it just comes to you, and it's just, yeah. So you wish he had the right people
Incredible.
around and stuff. He could have,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, yes. It's you actually nailed it. It's very akin to certain things you see even today. I mean, Mozart, he's unparalleled, his talent.
Yeah.
Although there's a movie coming out, so it's in April, about Joseph Boulogne, Chevalier Saint George, who was the black, they called them uh, Mozart Noir, another the Black Mozart.
Wow.
And in fact, he was even a roommate of Mozart at one point, and Mozart got some from him. He was one of the most world-renowned composers, and he was black. And
Ah.
so I'll leave that there. There's a movie coming out in April about it,
Okay.
and us music folk out here need to know it. Like Tim,
Yeah.
Timberland, that was my boy. He loved it. It's a whole nother level, man. So
Yeah. Oh, that'd be interesting to see. Then
yeah,
also, finally, then
yeah.
what's your
So,
all-time favorite song by any, your song, your go-to
ooh,
song, your song that you like?
ooh, oh Lord, oh you can't, how can I? I mean, I could, if I name one, as soon as I name one, there's going to be another. I mean, I got to tell you though, I'll just narrow it down. I don't even know if this is my favorite song. It's an unbelievable song. I just remember when I heard this, I was like, I'm going to do this. And it was from my guy, Teddy Riley, who's also my brother, who has roots here in Carolina. Love Teddy. And when I heard Groove Me by Guy, that was it. That was it. I'm doing that. That's it.
Okay.
Groove Me. So there's a million songs,
Yeah.
but for the purposes of, Groove Me. I heard Groove Me. That was it. I want that.
Yeah. Yeah. I had the pleasure of interviewing Timmy Gatlin to find out what
Oh,
happened. And he
ooh, I
talks
got a
about.
story about that too. I'll talk about it later.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, what's your
Yeah,
story about
yeah, yeah.
Timmy?
No, 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 no. No, well, I didn't get to meet Timmy. Oh, yes, I did. What am I kidding me? So kids at work
Oh yeah.
came to Charleston,
Wow.
and that's when I first met Teddy. And this will be in the book. I get to talk about the failures and the faux pas. Teddy literally, we took him to me and my dad. We took him to the music store because they needed some instruments for this little show. And Teddy found out I played drums. He goes, "Well, I got my guy Timmy who play bass. I play keys, but we don't have a drummer. Man, you might need to hook up and be in the band." And at that time, I was like, "Who's this man? I'm got my own band. Me and my brothers." And I'm like, yeah, cool, that's cool." And then the rest is history. So I failed. So that's my story. But I love Timmy. Um, that's my story, and we all miss the boat sometimes. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. Oh
So you
goodness.
got to speak with Timmy? Yeah.
Yeah, well, to find out, I mean, he's on an album cover, but we never saw him after the album came out, and to get what
That was
happened,
crazy.
to get his take on what happened.
I watched that. Yes, I watched that interview. As a matter of fact, oh, that was great. You nailed it, man. That was beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah, it was my proudest thing
yeah,
because because I
yeah,
never knew, and so
yeah.
it goes back to the whole, people taking, he didn't sign the contract, so he seemed like he might be, and I didn't even realize that Gene Griffin put an image of a griffin on the Guy album to pretty much say, "This is my group."
Yeah.
That's
Oh my
Griffin.
gosh.
Like, if you see on the
I
Guy
never
album,
thought about
yeah, I
that.
didn't know too
That
until,
makes
yeah.
so. Yeah. What was that? I
That
was
was
like, what?
Griffin. That was
Okay,
him. He
that's
was trying to
cool.
say that I am the group, the Griffin. So the logo is him, and that's how much he was to. And he was the
Look.
fourth member of Guy. So that's a level of, the way they took advantage
Yeah.
of them. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Timmy says, "No, I can't sign this over," and he gets forced out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what could have been, because he goes on to work
Yeah.
with BBD and
Very
do.
talented. He wrote. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I
when will you
remember
see
that.
Smile Again, and Promises for
Yeah,
Christopher
man.
Williams and all
Yeah.
this stuff. I mean, you think that
Yep.
could have, and Make You Sweat for Keep Sweat, that could have all been guy songs because he was the writer. So
And you're right. You're right. And if they, in the right conditions, it could have also propelled him. I faced. I've had my moments, but yeah, those things when that comes part of the deal, it tamps down your next potential. It's just how it is, and you end up. Jimmy could have been right there. Who knows? Me, whatever. But egos and status, they always have played a part. You see it today. It's just more
wow,
public now, but boy, behind the scenes back in the day, that I say, I mean, people were taking theirs,
wow.
and if that wasn't your personality, or if that wasn't your approach, like maybe in Timmy's case, wanted to peel, but he wasn't with all that, then you got to live with your integrity. That's it. So I appreciate that.
Is that
I
what
can
we'd
appreciate that.
expect in your books? Those types of
Yeah,
tales?
you'll see some. It's mostly I tell the stories, but I do level out some of the failures because again, I you know hindsight is everything, and I was a kid essentially. I'm thrown in the mix, and you know kids gonna make mistakes. So I definitely there'll be some. But I'm grateful. In other words, I'm not sensationalism. That isn't my
Yeah.
thing because that wasn't how I lived then. Even though
Mm.
I didn't know a lot of times what I was doing, it was able to stumble forward into a lot of situations, and I'm grateful for. And it taught me, and I learned, and I took a I was this is I'll leave this back then. There were no camera phones. You ain't getting all these shots and all that. So I do have a ton of pictures, and I'll send you some if you want.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
But yeah, I have a ton, and it's reminders of the experiences with a ton of artists and different people. But man, if I had me a camera phone back then, the stuff I could share, the videos, woo, some might get me in trouble. I
Yeah.
couldn't. I got so there'll be some fun stories in there, man. But I didn't have a camera phone, so we're just gonna have to go by memory. But it's good
So
stuff.
I think once your
Good
book
time.
is ready and it's about to come out, then what
Yeah,
we'll do as then we can probably get into some of those as you're previewing the book.
absolutely.
It'll be good then. Well, I
It'd be
know
my pleasure, man.
it's been great, Mookie, and as I said, when your book comes out, then we'll get you
Yeah,
back and then focus on that and
awesome.
tales of whatever the book title is, that we'll be able
Yeah,
to
yeah,
highlight some of those
yeah.
things as well and stuff. But
Be a
yeah,
pleasure, man.
it's been good to see you and stuff, and as I said, I will get some of your details. So when this comes out, in the new it comes out, then we'll be able
Yeah,
to link people up to some of the things that you've done, and even some of your speaking engagements if people are interested in trying to
awesome,
get in touch. So if they are interested in trying to find out
awesome.
about you doing your speaking engagements and stuff, where can
Yeah,
they reach you?
I would say like I'm an email every day, all day guy. So I'm at the Magnum Drummer, just like it sounds. It's long, but
Yeah.
TheMagnumDrummer, the Magnum Drummer at gmail.com. And contact me, anybody. It's totally cool. I'm wide open.
And this
I'm
is
right here.
for to do what type of speaking engagements would they if they
Um, well, it's mostly inspirational speakings. I share the stories and I'll take questions. We do Q&A and share some parts of the diversity I like to speak about in terms of the background. But it was all music incorporated. So for speaking and I still do music. I still do tracks. Me and Donell, we're talking about some things, and me and my brother Buddy, we're talking about some things. So there might be a reunion coming. You just
Yeah,
never
well,
know.
Donell is supposed to come out with, what's the name of
Good,
his
good.
Elevate, his album for his 50th birthday. Elevate. I saw when
Yes,
yes.
yes, yes, man. So I might do a couple of mixes over there with
Okay.
D and out there in the GA. So yeah, but
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
proud of all these guys. I see all these guys, man, and I'm just proud of them because people are still doing things. And now again comes full circle. The love for '90s and
Yeah.
R&B is major. So
Yeah.
what you're doing, man, I appreciate. I've been creeping, looking at what you're doing, and seeing some of my people, and just looking at it and reliving it, and it's a blessing what you're sharing with everybody. So I'm glad to just jump in, just give a little behind the scenes, little drop, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah, well, appreciate it. And
Shout out to Tanya. Tanya hooked us up, so she's awesome
yes,
over
yes,
there, and
yes, yes. So she's a
yeah, she's
massive
awesome. Yeah,
her two
yeah,
big groups are Heavy D and the
yeah,
Boys and
yeah,
Intro.
man.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so those are the two and yeah, it was great. I managed to interview G Wiz
yeah.
and
Yeah, he's
Buddy.
beautiful. That's my boy too. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Glenn.
Love all those guys.
And
Glenn is
hopefully
awesome.
Eddie went in the new year once sad about Eddie lost his mom
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just
Lost
saw
man.
photos from the funeral the other day. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But Mookie, it's been
Awesome.
great, and but we'll be in touch when the book's out, and so we'll be
Please,
able to
please.
touch help promote that and push that.
Awesome, awesome.
Okay, all right then.
Love it,
Take care, Mookie.
my guy. Peace.
All right. Hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. But also check out the membership, which is a good way of getting some exclusive videos and actually long videos from day one. But thanks again for watching. Look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.